ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मुक्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम् Adi Shankaracharya is now unfolding the nature of Trigunatmika Maya and has defined the Maya Shakti of Parabrahma as Avyaktam, which is not directly perceived. We only perceive what the Guna Karyam, the impact of the gunas on our bodies, minds, and the world. Then such a Maya is Anirvachaniya. Why? Because can the Maya be described as Sat, as independently existing? No, because only Brahma Ekaha Satvastu Eva. Because the moment we start inquiring into the Gunakaryam, into any effect of Maya, it is negatable. Because the Maya Karyam is now Vyaktam, then it goes back to Avyaktam. So that because of the Drishta Nashta Svabhava, constant changing nature, and on inquiry, it gets negated, it cannot be Sat. Like, the pot, the example. The pot is a Gunakaryam effect. Now, is the pot really there? We can ask such question only in a Vedanta class. Is the pot really there? Yes, I see it. People will say, no. The pot is Nama Rupa. Pot is an appearance. It is a manifestation. What is really there? Clay. Because the weight of the pot is the weight of clay. So pot is a Nama for this Rupa. Is it not negated? So like that, every Maya Karyam on inquiry gets negated and it cannot be the Satvastu. Then what about Asat? Is it non-existent? Asat? No, because I see it. It is visible and it is transactional. I can use the pot as I'm using now. So it is there, but it is not really there. So the word for Asat, non-existent status, Shastra says is Anritam. I have used this word before. Anritam means the examples of Vandhya, Putra, Akasha, Pushpa, Shashashringaha. Do the rabbits have horns? No. Can we pluck the flowers from the sky? No. Can there be a son for a barren woman? No. So these are examples for Anritam Vastu. That which is completely non-existent. Is Maya non-existent? No. So neither is it Sat, independently existing, nor is it Asat, non-existent. Then what is Maya? Sat Asadbhyam Anirvachaniya. It cannot be categorically said to be either of the two. So it is an in-between status. And that in-between status is called Mithya. Mithya is that which enjoys a transitory in-between status and which arrives and departs. So we have seen countless examples of Mithya also, like the dream. The dream of last night, is it real or unreal? It was very real for the dreamer during the duration of the dream. But from the standpoint of the waker, it is falsified, negated. So dream is an example of mithya. Pot is an example of mithya. Waves in the ocean. Can the waves exist without water? No. Are they permanent? No. Are they non-existent? No. So they are mithya. So all this Acharya has explained by saying how it is anirvachaniya, avyaktam, anadihi, and so on. Then after that, Acharya explains the twofold power of the Maya Shakti, Avidya Maya Shakti, to bind the Jiva. What are the two powers? The power of tamas expresses itself as the power of concealment, veiling the truth. So when the truth is veiled, because my mind is clouded by tamas, that is called avarana Shakti of Maya. The familiar example, the rope is covered, and my buddhi cannot see clearly the nature of the rope because there is a cover that is called avarana Shakti. So once something is concealed or hidden or veiled, then what will happen? The power of rajas will step in, and then there will be vikshepa Shakti. Vikshepa means projections. So we saw all the kinds of vikshepas possible: abhavana, viparita bhavana, asambhavana. That is, one will completely dismiss. Okay, the truth does not exist. There is no Atma, it is Shunyam. Or viparita bhavana. There are all these schools of thought. Atma is this, Atma is that. It is flickering consciousness, it is prana, it is deha. Or asambhavana. Asambhavana means there's a doubt whether it exists or not. So all these are due to the power of rajas, the projecting power. And so Acharya says together these two power of tamas to conceal and power of rajas to project, what do? They bind the jiva to the samsara chakra. And so together they become what? Samsarasya karanam. And Maya is so prabala. The definition prabala means very powerful. And so what does it do? It causes durantaha. Durantaha means kshapayati. This Maya will hurl the jiva into womb after womb and janma after janma, and will cause untold miseries, unimaginable sufferings, and unfortunate consequences. So that is the power of rajas and tamas. And we have seen this in the Bhagavad Gita also. So then Acharya says that one may be highly skilled, adept, brilliant in aparavidya. Prajnavan, Chaturaha, Panditaha, Sukshma Atmadrik, but yet may be deluded. Deluded means naveti. One does not know that essential oneness. And what one misses out is that tattvam, the vastu. So then they are deluded and they simply go round and round and Janmani. So all that we saw as the avidya maya. So now Acharya is going to move towards the best guna, and that is the liberating guna. And what is that? Sattva guna. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam, nirmalatvat prakashakam, anamayam. We saw these definitions for sattva guna in the 14th chapter of the Gita. Sattva is the quality of purity, quality of contentment, discrimination, and knowledge can only be born in a sattvic state of the mind. And it will lead us to the anamayam padam. Amayam means suffering, disease, decay. Anamayam is freedom from all this anishtam. So that is why sattva is called the gateway, the highway to moksha. Now let us go to the 117th shloka, where Acharya describes the power of sattva guna to liberate the jiva. Sattvam vishuddham jalavat tathapi. Sattvam vishuddham jalavat tathapi. ताभ्यां मिलित्वा शरणाय कल्पते ताभ्यां मिलित्वा शरणाय कल्पते सत्वं विशुद्धं जलवत् तथापि ताभ्यां मिलित्वा शरणाय कल्पते यत्रात्मबिम्बः प्रतिबिम्बितः सन् यत्रात्मबिम्बः प्रतिबिम्बितः सन् प्रकाशयत्यर्क इवाखिलं जडम् प्रकाशयत्यर्क इवाखिलं जडम् सत्वं विशुद्धं जलवत् तथापि ताभ्यां मिलित्वा शरणाय कल्पते यत्र आत्मबिम्बः प्रतिबिम्बितः सन् प्रकाशयति अर्कः इव अखिलं जडम्. So here we are seeing, the situation of SRT. Do you all remember? At some point we have studied SRT, RST, RTS, TRS in the 4th chapter of the Gita. When Krishna says Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashah, he says, I have classified, the whole humanity into these 4, prototypes. So, the Brahmanas are the Sattva-guna Pradhana. So, now this verse is talking about the SRT category. Sattvam Vishuddham. Vishuddha Sattva means where Sattva-guna is just radiating. It is shining in this person. And all that Tamoguna, Rajoguna is in the background. It is not dominant. It is not interfering. And so the Sattva Guna is the prime dominant Guna. So Sattvam Vishuddham is compared to what? Jalavat. Like water. What kind of water? Pure, steady water. So the Sattva Guna, we have seen so many examples. Sattva Guna is compared to that cleaned and polished mirror. So when a mirror is polished, then the reflection will be so bright. So too, when the mirror-like mind is sattvic, then one can clearly see the tattvam, the atma tattvam. That is one's reflection. But when the waters are muddy and cloudy, that is a state of tamas. So you can't see anything. Like if you cover a mirror with a black cloth, can there be a reflection? No. So that is the state of tamas. And if the mirror is shaking, or cracked, then again the reflection will be cracked and unsteady. That is rajas. So when the waters are unsteady, reflection is unsteady. When the waters are cloudy and muddy, then there's no reflection. But when the waters are pure, transparent, clear, steady, that is described here, Vishuddham Jalavat. Like that water is sattva, the quality of sattva, the quality of purity. Then, tathapi, but even then, tabhyam militva. Tabhyam means with those two. With which two? The other two. Yeah, other two are referring to rajas and tamas. But when the sattva, mixes, combines with the other two, then what happens? Saranaya kalpate. Kalpate means it becomes the karanam. Now the sattva becomes, tainted, contaminated with rajas and tamas and becomes karanam, kalpate for what? Saranaya. Saranaya means samsaraya. Saranaya is samyak sarati, that which goes round and round. That is the samsara chakra. So the sattva, the pure sattva state is like pure water. But when there is contamination, when the other gunas come in, rajas and tamas, then again, Acharya has already explained, then the truth will be veiled, concealed, there will be projections, and there will be suffering. That is the meaning of Saranaya Kalpate. Then that is the first line. Sattvam Vishuddham Jalavat Tathapi Militva Tabhyam Saranaya Kalpate. Then Yatra Atma Bimbaha Pratibimbitaha San. Now Yatra means in that state of sattva. So when the mind is in a steady state of sattva, like that polished and mirror, polished mirror, or like that steady, transparent water, what will happen? Atma bimbaha pratibimbitaha san. Atma bimbaha, we have seen bimba means the original sun, and pratibimba is the reflection. So the original consciousness, that is pure Chaitanyam, we know, reflects in every subtle body, regardless of the species. Yeah, humans, non-humans, celestials, every Sukshma Shariram will capture the reflection of Atma Bimba. But that reflection will be very, very clear when the mind is like a polished mirror. So that is meant here. Yatra, in that state of sattva, atmabimbaha pratibimbitaha san, is beautifully reflected in the mind. Now the mind, mind, is it jadam or chetana? Jadam. We all know this. Yeah, the mind and the body are both jadam. Now, jadavastu cannot know itself or others. But once it is empowered, blessed, activated by Chaitanyam, then it becomes sentient. So we have seen this many times, how the Shuddha Chaitanyam empowers the mind, sentient mind, and through the mind, the body and the sense organs are activated. And now through the body, mind, sense organs, the whole world is illumined. Yeah. So the world is also jadam. But now the world becomes very real and tangible because of all these karanas. Karanas are empowered by that pratibimba. Pratibimba is chidabhasaha, reflected consciousness. And that is nothing other than original consciousness. That's the second line. Atmabimbaha pratibimbitaha san. And then what? Prakashayati arkah iva akhilam jadam. Prakashayati means it causes to illumine. So, see, Atma does not directly illumine. Yeah? It illumines the mind, and the mind illumines the sense organs in the body, and then through these karanas, the world is illumined. So, all the jadavastus, body, mind, world, they're all what? Anubhati. They shine after this Atma Chaitanyam, Atma Bimbaha. So we have seen this in Ekashloki Prakarana of Acharya. Then the fourth shloka of Dakshinamurti recently, what did we see? Nana Chitra Gatodara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabhabhaswaram. That Atma Bimbaha is like the Mahadeepaha placed in that inverted pot-like body. And it is streaming out through all these karanas. Pancha Jnanendriyani, Karmendriyani, Manas. It is streaming out. So that is the Prakashayati. It shines forth. It is Swayam Prabha. So Atma does not need any light. It does not need to borrow light. But from the Atma Chaitanyam, everything borrows light. Atma Bimba is the lender. And the whole Jada Prapancha is the receiver, borrower of sentience. And in the last quarter, the familiar example of the Ravihi is given, the sun, Arkaha. Arkaha, or the sun, what does the sun do? The sun is a lokasakshi. The sun shines. Is that an action? No. Sun stands for Akarta, Abhokta, Atma. Akriyaha. So the sun simply shines. Its nature is to shine. And in its light, Surya Prakasha, what happens? The whole Jada Prapancha gets illumined, revealed. So whether somebody is committing a theft in broad daylight, or somebody is doing puja and Surya Namaskaras, or somebody is still sleeping. So the three gunas are active in the world. And what is it that lights up the dance of the gunas in the external world? It is the sun. Yeah. So the sun is the sakshi, uninvolved, unaffected. Will the sun be blamed for any, offenses committed in its light in the world? No. Will the sun take credit for something, some punya karmas going on in its light in the world? No. The sun is unaffected, uninvolved, unbiased witness. So too, Atma Bimbaha is the Atma sun, and it lights up the internal world of the mind, the body, and the sense organs. And they all become sentient. In chapter 13 of the Gita, Krishna said the same thing. Yatha prakashayatyekaha kritsnam lokamimam ravihi. So, imam kritsnam jagat lokam, the whole jagat is illumined by ravihi. Yatha. So too, tatha, this kshetram, body kshetram, mind kshetram, and world kshetram is lighted up by whom? Kshetrajnaha, the one who is the knower, the one who is the sentient principle of consciousness as though seated inside the body. So that is the drishtanta of light here. Another very good example often given is the theatre lamp in the Panchadashi Nataka Deepa Prakarana by Vidyaranya Muni. And there also we see the theatre lamp is on before the play starts, during the play, and after the play is ended. So it is witnessing what? The presence of something and the absence of audience. So that is what is the nature of Sakshi. And that the sun is a Loka Sakshi and Atma is that, Avasthatraya Sakshi. Avasthatraya Sakshi is that which is the invariable constant in all the three avasthas. So let us look at the shloka again. Sattvam vishuddham jalavat tabhyam militva saranaya kalpate yatratma bimbah pratibimbita san prakashayatyarka ivakhilam jadam. Now, next shloka. Continuing the topic of the Sattva Guna, 118. Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmaha. Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmaha. Tvamani tadyani amaya madhyaha. Tvamani tadyani amaya madhyaha. Shraddha cha bhaktischa mumukshutta cha. Shraddha cha bhaktischa मुमुक्षुता च दैवी च सम्पत्तिर सन्निवृत्तिः दैवी च सम्पत्तिर सन्निवृत्तिः मिश्रस्य सत्त्वस्य भवन्ति धर्माः त्वमानि ताद्यानि अमायमाद्याः श्रद्धा च भक्तिश्च मुमुक्षुता च दैवी च सम्पत्तिर सन्निवृत्तिः. Again, Trishtuk meter here. मिश्रस्य सत्वस्य भवन्ति धर्माः तु अमानिताद्याः नियमाः यमाद्याः श्रद्धा च भक्तिः च मुमुक्षुता च दैवी च सम्पत्तिः असन्निवृत्तिः. Does it sound familiar? Some words at least. எங்கேயோ படிச்ச மாதிரி இருக்கு. Long time ago. Yeah, so lot of familiar words Acharya is borrowing from Gita, Bhagavad. That is why Bhagavad Gita is our standard baseline. If we have studied Bhagavad Gita, we can connect through the Gita to any Upanishad, Prakarana Granthas. Very important to study at least once thoroughly the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So here, continuing the topic of Sattva Guna, now Acharya says, if the Sattva Guna is not the dominant Guna, but it is Mishrita. Mishrita means all the three Gunas are present in varying proportions. Yeah. Then what will happen? Mishrasya Sattvasya Bhavanti Dharmaha. Now this is the state of the Jiva. See, the celestials, they have pure punyam. Pure punyam. But as a jiva born in Bhuloka, we are feeling the impact of all the three gunas. We are going through the dance every day. And that is why what? That is why these dharmas can be cultivated. So here Acharya gives a whole list of dharmas, most of which we know already. What are they? Let us say. So, Mishrasya Sattvasya Bhavanti Dharmaha. For this Mishrita Sattva Guna person, yeah. So, when the person, is enjoying that Malina Sattva Guna, that is, there are traces of Rajas and Tamas, no? Then what will happen? The possibility of Adhikaritvam will be there. Yeah, so first we have to all gain the sadhana chatushtayam adhikari. For that, some rajas is needed, is it not? Simply sitting in a sattvic mode will not take us to jnanam. It can be misunderstood as tamas also. So when there is a healthy rajas and minimal tamas and guiding sattva on the forefront, then etaha dharmaha bhavanti. These values and attitudes are possible, they are present. So that is why you see our Sanatana Dharma culture is so beautiful. The only purpose is to demolish or keep tamas minimal and to channelize the rajas in the direction of sattva. So we have all these practices, offer arghyam to the Surya and do Surya Namaskara, do puja, visit kshetrams and do danam and offer it to Ishvara and keep on chanting Parayana, mantras. All this is for the purpose of gaining Shuddha Sattva and to minimize the other two gunas. So here now, what are the dharmas mentioned? The first line, it is tu amanitadhyaha. Now this is very familiar from the chapter 13 of the Gita. Remember the 5 verses from 7 to 11 of chapter 13, where Acharya says, Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshantirarjavam, Acharyo, Pasanam, Shaucham, Stairyam, Atma Vinigraha, and so on. Indriyartheshu, Vairagyam, Anahankara, Evacha, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. So there is a whole book based on these 20 Jnana Sadhanani expressed in the 5 verses 7 to 11 of chapter 13. Very beautiful book called Value of Values. If you don't have the book, please purchase it at the publications in Chennai. So Swamiji has talked about beautifully on every one of these 20 Jnana Sadhanani because they are the bridge to Jnanam. And here Acharya simply says what? Amanitadhyaha, referring to the whole set. So amanitvam is na manitvam. So whether we have gunas or we don't have gunas, if there is pride and one demands respect and recognition, that is manitvam. So here, wanting to be the most super sattvic person, we must have amanitvam. Then adambitvam, absence of arrogance. Then ahimsa, non-injury. Then kshantihi, can I tolerate and accommodate everyone, whether they are favorable to me or not. Then arjavam, alignment. Acharya upasanam, not only do namaskaras and pada puja to Acharya, but am I following the instructions of the Acharya? Then shaucham, purity. Stairyam. Stairyam is steadiness. Can I steadily pursue and be consistent in attending Shravanam classes? Sthirata should be there. Then Atma Vinigraha and so on. So Acharya, Krishna Acharya has already given the list. And here Adi Shankaracharya refers to that. So these dharmas can be cultivated for the purpose of adhikaritvam. When there is a Mishrita Sattva Guna. Okay. Then we have Niyamaha Yamadhyaha. And these refer to the Yama Niyamas of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Now, most of you would know that also. There are the 5 do's and the 5 don'ts. Yamas are the don'ts and niyamas are the observances to do. So we have ahimsa, satyam, asteyaha, brahmacharya, aparigraha. Non-violence in thought, word and deed. Then satyam, truthfulness, again in thought, word and deed. Then asteya, non-stealing. Brahmacharya is preserving the ojas and the prana. And aparigraha is non-hoarding. No, I don't covet other objects and I'm content. What I need, I will take or I will buy. But no hoarding will be there. Then niyamas, beautiful, another five set is shaucha, purity, inner purity and outer purity, surroundings. Santosha, contentment. Then tapas, we have so many opportunities for tapas, especially in this Dakshinayinam period of our year. We have all this tapas in the form of Parayinam, pujas, Kartika, Somvaras. They will do tapas. Why? To develop sattva. To deny, voluntarily denial of some comfort is the nature of tapas. What we are doing now is jnana tapas. Then swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is study of the scriptures, which is study of oneself through japa, parayanam, and shravanam, ityadi. And Ishvara pranidhana is the attitude of samarpanam. So these yama niyamas are the foundation to rungs of the Ashtanga yoga called Patanjali Raja Yoga. Okay, so there also here we see a reference by Adi Shankaracharya to this in the first line. So amanitadyaha niyamaha yamadi yamadyaha yamaniyamas. Then next line, Shraddha cha bhakti cha. Shraddha is perhaps the most important quality of the Shatka Sampatti. Shraddhavan labate jnanam, Gita said. So Shraddha is having an open, trusting mind. So if there is some, obstacle, then I will not question the teacher or the Shastras, but I will question my receptivity. Am I ready for it? Is there an internal block? That is called Shraddha, trusting mind. Then Bhakti. Now, in this very chapter, Acharya, remember, defined Bhakti. Gariyasi Bhakti as Swasvarupa Anusandhanam. Swasvarupa Anusandhana means inquiring into one's own nature. Who am I? But that is Para Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti. So only a mumukshu, like all of you, are in this bhakti mode, trying to discover who is Ishvara, what is my relationship with Ishvara, and arriving at the oneness. This is called Para, Ananya, Avyabhicharini Bhakti. But Apara Bhakti also we must not forget. Apara Bhakti is the Saguna Bhakti. So Saguna Bhakti is connecting to one Ishtadevata, Ekarupa, and Vishwarupa also will come under Apara Bhakti. That is what is my attitude towards people, towards objects and books and animals and the times of the day. That reverential approach is that Apara Bhakti. Then Mumukshita. Mumukshitvam is the desire for moksha. That should be there. Now, if the desire for moksha itself is not there, then of what use are we doing swadhyaya and tapas and yama, niyama and cultivating all these dharmas? They will be just adornment, like alankara. No, alankara with no real purpose. No? So we are doing that. All the other auxiliary sadhanas and practices is for getting the Shuddha Sattva. And then Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam. So that we can receive the Jnanam. In that perfectly sattvic, polished, mirror-like mind, Jnanam is going to shine. Now this knowledge will happen only in the mind because remember the mind is put together by the collective Sattva Guna of the Panchatanmatras. So that is why Sattva is so important. The Antakarana is basically Sattva. Sattva generated. And so when it is made sattvic through all these practices, values and attitudes and dharmas, then definitely jnanam will take place. But Acharya points out to one more. Daivi cha sampattihi asan nivrittihi. Daivi sampattihi, we know. Which chapter? 16th. Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga, chapter 16 of the Gita, beautifully defines Daivi Sampati in the first three verses. अभयं सत्त्वसंशुद्धिः ज्ञानयोगव्यवस्थितिः दानं दमश्च यज्ञश्च स्वाध्यायस्तप आर्जवम् अहिंसा सत्यमक्रोधः त्यागः शान्तिरपैशुनं दया भूतेष्वलोलुप्त्वं मार्दवं ह्रीरचापलं तेजः क्षमा धृतिः शौचं स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः and so on. So most of the values you can see are overlapping. Yeah, many common values and dharmas are there. So we can take up any one. That's why it said ahimsa paramo dharma in our culture. If we cultivate one guna, even ahimsa, then all the other gunas will be pulled along. So Daivi Sampattihi is also developing sattva. And the last word here is asan nivrittihi. Now that asan nivritti is to be understood as asat nivrittihi. Nivritti is withdrawal. So when we withdraw from asat, asat means that which is anishtam, which is rajasic and tamasic. So asan nivrittihi is withdrawal from the asuri sampattihi. Asuri sampattihi, manitvam, dambitvam, himsa, all that, withdrawal from that. So, you see how many values and attitudes are mentioned here, the 20 amanitvam, adambitvam values of chapter 13, then 16 or so from chapter 16, then Shraddha, Bhakti, Mumukshutvam, Yama, Niyama, another 10. So, all these, Acharya says, Mishrasya Sattvasya Bhavanti Dharmaha. So, for this, the person who's struggling for knowledge and who is currently a Mishrita Sattva Guna Pradhana person, all these dharmas will come and give the Adhikaritvam. Adhikaritvam and take the person to the next level of knowledge. Okay. मिश्रस्य सत्त्वस्य भवन्ति धर्माः त्वमानिताद्यानियमायमाद्याः श्रद्धा च भक्तिश्च मुमुक्षुता च दैवी च सम्पत्तिरसन्निवृत्तिः. Now 119. Now we move to the pure sattva guna, not mishrita sattva guna. So the previous shloka told us how to develop, cultivate sattva guna toward vishuddha sattvaha. Let's chant the shloka here. विशुद्धसत्त्वस्य गुणाः प्रसादः विशुद्धसत्त्वस्य गुणाः प्रसादः स्वात्मानुभूतिः परमा प्रशान्तिः स्वात्मानुभूतिः परमा प्रशान्तिः तृप्तिः प्रहर्षः परमात्मनिष्ठा तृप्तिः प्रहर्षः परमात्मनिष्ठा यया सदानन्दरसं समृच्छति यया सदानन्दरसं समृच्छति विशुद्धसत्त्वस्य गुणः प्रसादः स्वात्मानुभूतिः परमा प्रशान्तिः तृप्तिः प्रहर्षः परमात्मनिष्ठा यया सदानन्दरसं समृच्छति. So now with minimum tamas and rajas, there is this Vishuddha Sattva Guna Pradhana Jivaha. So Vishuddha Sattvasya Gunaha Prasadaha Swatma Anubhutihi Parama Prashantihi Triptihi Praharshaha Paramatmanishta Yaya Sada Anandarasam Samrichati. So the last word is Samrichati, which means gains or attains. Or goes, Samyak Richati, goes to that state of pure sattva. So Vishuddha Sattvasya. Now, for the one who has a pure sattvic mind. Now, how do we know the sattva guna is there in our mind? When it is all mentioned here. Gunaha prasadaha. So prasada rupena gunaha will be there. So there will be a prasanna chittaha, feeling of tranquility. Tranquility when the dominant guna is sattva. So I'm sure we know many such people who are in the world and they just radiate that contentment and the peace and the happiness, which is their own swarupa, yeah, which is not a show. Yeah, so that is gunaha prasadaha. Then what happens when the Shuddha Sattva is there? Swatma Anubhutihi. Swatma Anubhutihi is another word for Aparoksha Anubhutihi. Then what is Aparoksha Anubhutihi? Na Parokshaha. Not a remote Anubhutihi. Yeah, and now the word Anubhuti means experience. So Puja Swamiji will say, majority of the people, what are they doing in the world? Experience hunting. Experience hunters, which means everybody is looking for a kick and to enjoy this, enjoy that. And then, of course, advertising and all the social media have devised so many ways to bring such kicks and entertainment and, sources of such an ananda to people. That is called anubhuti. But here, Acharya is talking about swatma anubhuti. Yeah? That is the experience. Although we are using the word experience, it really means what? Swarupananda. No? The nature of oneself, one is enjoying all the time. Because it is Satvastu. It does not arrive and depart as with the worldly experiences. So, this Aparoksha Anubhuti or Swatma Anubhuti is what Parama Prashantihi. It is of the nature of supreme Shanti. Now, Shanti, peace, we can define peace as the peace between two arguments, between two storms. Yeah. But here, not so here. Swarupa Shanti is the Shanti that is the very nature of Atma. So, Swanubhutihi, Prashantihi, that is the ultimate Shanti and Anandam. Then Triptihi. So, obviously, when there is the fullness has been discovered, then Jnani will enjoy what? Triptihi, Atmani eva Atmana Tushtaha. He is self contented. And Praharshaha. Harsha means joy, no? And Prakarshena Harsha means total joy. But this joy is a nirnimitta ananda. It is not centered on an occasion, a situation, a person, or an event. It is the very nature of Atma. Simply sitting, a jnani can be filled with joy, like a child. So they say that only a child and a jnani and a madman can enjoy and have this joy without a reason. Yeah. So without a reason, can one be happy? Can one be joyful? And peaceful, that is mentioned here. So that can only happen when that wailing power is gone. When the tamo guna is not wailing, concealing anymore, when the rajas is not projecting, demanding, and insisting that we do this, we do that. That is why we have to meditate every day to discover the underlying sattva guna. That is simply there as that contentment. Then what? Paramatma Nishtha. Now, Nishtha comes from the root stha. Stha means to stay, to abide. So, Paramatma Nishtha is what Krishna talked about in chapter 6 of the Gita. Atma samstam manakritva nakinchidapi chintayet. So, the mind has now got trained and educated to stay with the Atma. So, it will not pull the jiva here and there. Paramatma Nishtha will be there. And even if the mind goes out, yato yato nischarati tatasthito niyamya etat. So the jnani will clearly see, now some rajas is coming in, the thief called rajas, or tamas. So let me do something about it and simply watch or will take the necessary action. And Atma Samstam become again abiding in the nature of Atma. That is called Paramatma Nishtha. And that can only be there when Sattva Guna is dominant. That is the main point here. Then Yaya Sadananda Rasam Samrichyati. Yaya means by which, by the power of Sattva Guna, one will enjoy what? Sada Ananda Rasam. Ananda Rasam. In the dance, we talk about Navarasas, no? Bibhitsa is disgust, then Krodha rasa, then Bhayam. The dancer will show all these emotions. Then finally, she will show Shanta rasa. And there, the dancer will assume the posture of a yogi, in meditation. So, very calm and peaceful, radiating the Shanta rasa. That is called the Ananda rasa. Samritshati and attains. So all these are, this verse is talking about the glory of Sattva how it will bestow all this, prasada in the form of all these gunas. Let's chant it again. विशुद्धसत्त्वस्य गुणः प्रसादः स्वात्मानुभूतिः परमा प्रशान्तिः तृप्तिः प्रहर्षः परमात्मनिष्ठा यया सदानन्दरसं समृच्छति. The word rasam. Rasam is a very important part of South Indian Bhojanam. Is it not? How many of you like rasam the most? Yeah, it's very healing, especially we had this Molaga rasam, Jeera rasam, Nellika rasam, so many kinds, hundreds of varieties will be there. So this word rasam, reminds us of Kanchi Mahaperiva. I'm sure most of you would know the story where Mahaperiva has talked about the glory of rasam. Yeah. Now, in a South Indian meal, first will be sambar sadam, right? Sambar and then followed by rasam, and then comes payasam. Payasam and finally majjiga. So with these four things, Kanchi Mahaparivar beautifully explains, what is the difference between sambar and rasam, somebody asked. Both have dal, both have spices, and both have, hing, asafoetida, but there is a difference. Somebody said one has to eat sambar first and rasam next. But Mahapariva said, no, there's one more difference. Sambar will have lot of vegetables. And rasam will be more transparent and light in texture. Although recently, I saw in a YouTube video called Murungakai Rasam. So a lot of innovative cooking is going on in modern times. But let us put that aside. So sambar will have a lot of vegetables. So what did Mahaperiva say about sambar? It's like the ego. So sambar has got so many vegetables, it can be confusing also, to spot the vegetables and handle it. So that is the state of ahankara. Ahankara having all these notions and conclusions. No? But when the sattva guna comes in, when the mind settles, that state of a settled, calm, prasanna chitta manas is rasam. So rasam வந்து தெளிவா இருக்கும்ல. It will be very clear and running consistency flowing. That is the flexibility, resilience of the sattva guna. So rasam is like that sattva guna. And then comes what? Payasam, if you are lucky. So if you're fortunate, the cook would have prepared payasam. And payasam is the sweet which makes us happy. So when that rasam, prashant chitta is there, state of a settled, calm mind, then that will give the happiness of payasam. And that happiness is ananda rasa, that is the Sarupananda. But then Kanchi Mahaperiva continued and said, what comes in the end? South Indian meal, majjiga. Majjiga is more, buttermilk. No? So, Kanchi Mahaperiva beautifully explains that what is buttermilk really? Buttermilk is the final stage of churning. We take the milk and we boil it and then we generate ghee and then we churn it and finally we get buttermilk. Can anything else be extracted from buttermilk? No. So that is the oneness of Ishvara, Ishvara Tattvam. That is, so when we have Majjiga, in the end, we are enjoying the state of oneness with Ishvara. So beautifully described by Kanchi Mahaperiva. Then what happens after Majjiga? Then Kanchi Mahaperiva said, you have to take your leaf plate and give it to the cow. Don't fold it nicely and reuse it. Okay. So, in another context, Mahaperiva also said beautifully when he was asked, why don't you take treatment for your disease, the cancer like growth? Then the Ramana Maharshi says there that once you've eaten off a leaf plate, do you preserve the plate? No, you will recycle it, give it to the cow, or you will, it's biodegradable, that sort of thing. So, too, Maharishi said that we are all enjoying through this body madhyam, uh, the gift of the birth, we are bhunjate, we are bhoktas, no? Bhoktas, and then why should one preserve the body? So Ramana Maharishi refused the treatment also. So the message there is to make proper use of the precious opportunity of a human birth and the body for attaining the Paramapurushartha, that is moksha praptihi. Now let us see if we can do one more shloka. That is number 120. अव्यक्तमेतत्त्रिगुणैर्निरुक्तम् अव्यक्तमेतत्त्रिगुणैर्निरुक्तम् तत्कारणं नाम शरीरमात्मनः तत्कारणं नाम शरीरमात्मनः सुषुप्तिरेतस्य विभक्त्यवस्था सुषुप्तिरेतस्य विभक्त्यवस्था प्रलीन सर्वेन्द्रिय बुद्धिवृत्तिः प्रलीन सर्वेन्द्रिय बुद्धिवृत्तिः अव्यक्तमेतत्त्रिगुणैः निरुक्तं तत्कारणं नाम शरीरमात्मनः सुषुप्तिरेतस्य विभक्त्यवस्था प्रलीन सर्वेन्द्रिय बुद्धिवृत्तिः अव्यक्तम् एतत् त्रिगुणैः निरुक्तम् तत्कारणं नाम शरीरम् आत्मनः सुषुप्तिः एतस्य विभक्ति अवस्था प्रलीन सर्व इंद्रिय बुद्धि वृत्तिः. So now slowly Acharya is concluding the topic of the gunas and saying that this Trigunatmika Maya Shakti, which is avyaktam, and what is this? This is really the Karana Shariram for the Jiva. After having analyzed the Sthula Shariram, gross body, the Sukshma Shariram, subtle body, now the actual label is coming up, the Karana Shariram. What is it really? It is not a body like the other two. It is Maya. So, Avyaktam Etat Trigunaihi Niruktam. Niruktam means this is defined, this is described. This Avyaktam, Trigunatmika Maya is Niruktam, defined as what? Karanam. Tat Karanam Nama Shariram. So Tat Karanam Shariram. It is the causal body. For whom? Atmanaha. That Atmanaha at the end of the first line is to be understood as Jivatmana. For the Jiva, this Avidya Maya is the Karana Shariram, which means what? Self-ignorance is the cause for birth. And in every birth, we have the other two bodies, Sthula and Sukshma. So this Avidya Maya or Karana Shariram is the causal body. Then, what is the distinctive state of Karana Shariram? How do we know this? How do we experience this Karana Shariram? It is said, Sushupti Avastha Etasya Vibhakti Avastha. Now, we all know very well the three avasthas: waking, dream, deep sleep. We've analyzed it so many times. So, Sushupti Avastha is in the deep sleep state. Where are we? Where are our profession, our family members, our attachments, our losses, our gains, our toothache, our loans? All of them is wrapped up, is withdrawn into the Karana Shariram. The I is also gone. So what is left? Only Chaitanya. Yeah? The Chaitanyam is there. So here Acharya is saying, is not the deep sleep state showing the Mahima of the Karana Shariram? The causal body can be understood as that in which the whole world and the gross body, subtle body, the Ahankara, everything is withdrawn into the Karana, Mayikam, Avyaktam, causal state. Only in the Sushupti Avastha. So that is the last line. Vibhakti Avastha means it's a distinct, special state. Now, does it mean the Karana Shariram is not there in the other two states? No, it is there. Right now, Karanam is there. Maya is there. Why do we get up sometimes and go away from the Zoom class? Maya. So, and if the Sattva Maya will allow us to sit steadily for 1 hour, then we are focused. But if we have to go here and there, this Rajas has entered our mind and we go and attend to something and then return to the class. So the Avidya Maya is very much there in all the three states. Jagrat Avastha, then dream, definitely it's there. Dream, the physical body is not there, but mind is active. So wherever there is a subject-object divide, there is Vyavahara that is prompted by Maya. But in the deep sleep state, we see the full glory because there is no subject-object divide. But there is a state of ignorance. So on waking up, I realize the glory of Maya, Avidya Maya, or the causal status of the deep sleep. Yeah. Then I say, I slept well. I do not know where I was. What happened? No idea. But here I am back. So that is the nature of Maya. One wakes up, from the causal body. So what will return from the causal body first? Yeah. So the subtle body. Yeah? The subtle body in the morning, whenever we wake up, then the I will return, the ahankara. Then the subtle body will connect to the physical body. And then we are back in the Jagrata avastha. And so these avasthas, they are rotating round and round. And that is the Karana Sharir. So we'll stop here for now. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ तत्सत्